All right, you guys, happy Tuesday. And it's looking like Brigitte Macron wants revenge. I'm telling you, Brigitte cannot stop, won't stop. Unbelievably, I just found out that Xavier Poussard, the journalist that I worked with on the entire Becoming Brigitte series, he has now been summoned to the Italian police. Yeah, I'm going to tell you all about that. And you know what I was thinking? Wouldn't it be great if Bill Gates created a chemical that could be sprayed on all of our organic food? Yeah, no, actually, no one has ever thought that. No one has ever said that, which is why Michelle Pfeiffer, the actress, came out of absolutely nowhere to alert the public to the fact that that's what Bill Gates is maybe doing. So I'm going to tell you about that. And lastly, if you have not heard, Elmo is anti-Semitic. Yeah, I don't know how else to break that to you, but that is true. The official Elmo X account has allegedly been hacked, and he had some choice words for Israel and Trump. So let's talk about it. Welcome back to Candace. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like things are reaching a fever pitch everywhere, just all around the world. There is this massive undoing. Obviously, major win last week. So excited to know that Natasha Ray and Amandine Roy, after years of being harassed by Brigitte, were found not guilty, reversed the conviction of defamation. And I explained to you that Brigitte is distraught over that. She's distraught for a lot of reasons, but she's not giving up. Now, I think I told you guys before, but throughout this case that was brought to the appellate courts, both me and Xavier Poussard, our names were mentioned by the presiding judge, asking questions to Brigitte's lawyer. Brigitte's lawyer, by the way, is Jean Enoki. I do not take that Jean Enoki to be a very honest person for a lot of reasons. But the judge asked him, frankly, look, if you're trying to say that Natasha Ray is not telling the truth or that this could potentially be defamation, can you explain why you haven't gone after, or if you've gone after, Candace Owens or Xavier Poussard? And Jean Enoki came back and said, he wasn't aware whether or not they had launched illegal proceedings against me and or Xavier. And frankly, I don't believe Jean, and I don't think the judge believed Jean, this I don't know answer. And obviously the judge agreed with Natasha Ray, understood the pettiness of this suit, and thought that it was unlikely that they were launching legal action against us. And so the convictions against Natasha and Amandine were eventually overturned. So what is Brigitte doing about this? Well, apparently Brigitte definitely knew that they were going to lose in the upper courts, and she's now essentially shifted strategies. Earlier today, Xavier Poussard, the author that I sat down with of the Becoming Brigitte series, who I've worked with, and who effectively, I would say, risked his life when you get the behind-the-scenes stories of why him and his family decided to pick up and leave France as he was working on this investigation for years into who or what Brigitte is. He essentially, once him and his family got there, assumed that they would have the safety net of being in Italy. But apparently that's not the case, because she's viciously hunting everybody who has shared this story, myself included. And earlier today, he found out that he was being summoned to the Italian police. Now, for what, you ask? You're not going to believe this, or maybe you will believe this. Cyberbullying. Yeah, cyberbullying. You're like, Candace, are we in middle school? Yes, we are apparently in middle school. This is a thing, by the way, in Europe. This is a thing definitely in the UK. You can get arrested for very strange things. And one of those things that you could have charges brought against you for is cyberbullying. And yeah, she is going this route. She is essentially going after Xavier Poussard for that very reason. Now, deeper sources have indicated that this is a part of a new desperate ploy that Brigitte's team has come together and devised, okay? So they decided, we're not going to go after people for defamation anymore because that's a dangerous game. It's dangerous because she would be forced to produce proof as to who she really was for the first 30 plus years of her life. Right? That was everything that I was mentioning from day one. When we got the legal letter, I thought it was extremely obtuse. Obviously, if you are willing to sue somebody, you should be just as willing, in fact, more willing to simply present contrary proof, like proof to the contrary. Yes, here I am through all these yearbooks. And Brigitte has refused to do that over and over and over again. They don't think Brigitte is going to ever present that evidence. So they've taken that off the table now. They're not going after anyone for defamation. They've also ruled out going after people, which they thought about doing this on the grounds of transphobia. Yes, also apparently an option in France. You could, I guess you could say it's kind of a thing in America too. Hate speech, quote unquote, hate speech. And sometimes hate speech can be you simply telling the truth. But she has decided to nix that from the agenda as well because she realizes the obvious that you have to kind of actually be trans to state a claim that you were impacted by transphobia, whatever that is. So the source says that her brilliant team has come together and they're now launching a new initiative against reporters within the scope of the law that they feel that they can win on. And that scope of the law is cyberbullying. And they're obviously going international. Xavier is being contacted by the Italian police. But also, this further contextualizes that really bizarre rambling letter that we received from Brigitte and Macron's legal team here in the U.S. last week. You remember? They were listing all of these things that I was like, this isn't defamation. Why are you just keeping an archive of all of my tweets? Well, they had that in mind. She's not thinking about defamation anymore. She's thinking about cyberbullying, and I am still on her list. Again, I think clearly she has no comprehension of free speech in America and what that means. But that's the direction of travel because they're pivoting their strategies. And here is something else that's really interesting, though. This has just been reported in Le Nouvel Obs, which is very well read in France. It's breaking today. According to the news, Brigitte is refusing or has refused to undergo a required psychiatric evaluation to prove that she has, in fact, been the victim of cyberbullying, that she has endured or sustained harm because of cyberbullying. It is an actual requirement to do this. I'm going to show you Xavier Poussard's tweet from earlier today explaining that. He tweeted, "Breaking news, Brigitte Macron refuses a psychiatric examination. The wife of President Emmanuel Macron, who has just lost the libel suit she brought against Natasha Ray and Amandine Roy, is now trying to have influencers and ordinary French citizens convicted of cyber harassment for questioning her past and her sex at birth. However, as revealed by Le Nouvel Obs, Brigitte Macron has refused to undergo the psychiatric examination required in this type of procedure." It reads from this article, "To be legally recognized, cyber harassment must have caused an alteration of the mental health of the targeted person. According to our sources, the First Lady refused a psychiatric expertise that could have assessed her condition, yet in the presence of the commissaire divisionnaire, that's the chief commissioner, who exceptionally came to the Élysée Palace to take her testimony, she mentioned that abroad, all of the spouses of the heads of the states of government are aware of the rumor." And so essentially, as we are seeing Brigitte get off of these planes, and Brigitte's increasingly angry as she comes off of these planes and she's punching in the face, it's because she knows that everybody knows. And that is giving her mental pain or mental anguish and anxiety, more so than actually trying to pull this off, with your powerful connection of elites just being trans and wearing a wig, a ridiculous wig, I'd like to say, every single day, cross-dressing as a woman. Yeah, that didn't give Brigitte any pause or anguish because she thought, oh, we have the power to pull this off. And now that it's all coming undone, Brigitte's like, no, this is not okay, because I think everyone, when they meet, are like doing this thing, looking like, hey, they're trying to look underneath and see things, and that's upsetting Brigitte. There's a bigger question here that's happening, right? The bigger question is, why are Brigitte and Emmanuel continuing down this path? They have now lost legally, and there's no way that they're going to put this genie back in the bottle. People are not going to stop talking about this. In fact, the more that they put on these stunts, the more that they fly over to the United States and request an audience with the president of the United States to say, hey, contact Candace Owens and shut her up, the more the world is becoming awakened that something sinister is happening. But they could have been done. They could have ignored this. The book was finished. The first part of the series was done. The people already knew. It's like a fire that they keep throwing gasoline on, but you have to ask yourself, why? Again, nobody's going to say never mind and forget about this. I think the answer is that we have stumbled upon something much bigger than Brigitte's genitals. I have to say it. And they need the worldwide inquiry to stop, because Brigitte is just one person in this tapestry of deception and lies and evil, quite frankly. Paris is a very interesting place. It is a hub of evil. It is really kind of the home of the quote unquote modern world, right? The world that existed post French Revolution, sexual deviancy, the occult. One way or another, every time that I'm investigating somebody, I am led back to France. Like if you're in the book club, you know we have spoken so much about Aleister Crowley, the sexual magician, the occult, how he was friends with all of the elites. Well, he lived in Paris. He lived in Paris for 26 years, considered Paris a home. Brigitte Macron, André Gide, the self-admitted pederast who Emmanuel Macron thought to put in his presidential portrait. His little wink. Yeah, we did it. We pulled this off until, Xavier, Poussard, and Candace Owens teamed up. So what are we looking at here? What is going on in France, and what are the implications for the rest of the world? And I'll tell you guys this. Obviously, we're at the beginning of this thing. We are bringing you a new series. It will feature Epstein and Brigitte. And I've been researching this stuff and reading it now for years. What I can tell you definitively, and this is going to sound crazy. It's going to sound as crazy as when I first said Brigitte Macron was born a man. And everyone went, what? That's nutty. That cannot be true. I'm going to tell you right now that what all of these investigations have led me to believe is, and we will get there also with Epstein, first and foremost, the world is in fact a stage. You are looking at actors and actresses that are playing the part of leaders. And we are unwitting participants. It is a stage. I can tell you that I believe firmly that the elites practice rituals. And if you do any basic study in Aleister Crowley, if you read the book Chaos, if you started to put the pieces together, you would very much realize, okay, what are they believing in? This guy held an audience with presidents, elites. He was friends, by the way, with André Gide. He conducted magic in Algeria. Oh, Algeria. Yeah, in order to initiate yourself into his cult, you had to go to Algeria. That's interesting. That's about where Jean-Michel Trogneux stopped existing. Algeria played a very significant part in the story if you follow the Becoming Brigitte series. There's something about Algeria, André Gide, Algeria. We know what they're doing out there. But initiatory practices from Aleister Crowley and the elites, yeah, I'll tell you, this idea of sex magic is definitively a real thing that they believe in. The same people, it's another thing that I would say, the same people, the same families have been in power for an extraordinarily long time. And I will tell you that the military is also heavily involved. That's one aspect that we see consistently from Chaos, speaking of one book we read in the book club, to Hollywood Babylon. This idea of the cult of military was a real component of this, high up in the military. And also, what you should know is that there is a guiding theology to this. It's a disturbing one. And now I understand what my husband said when he's like, Candace, everything is theology. I thought it was so strange when I met my husband and I'm like, what did you major in college? And they call it university in the UK. And they don't say that they major in it, but my husband read theology. And I was like, what an interesting, why theology? Why would you go with theology? It was a very muggle-like question of me, is what I'll say. And his answer was correct, because everything is guided by theology one way or the other. And if you don't think that you are being guided by theology, then you are definitively being guided by somebody else's theology. And there is no question in my eyes that they believe in what they are doing as a form of religion, right? That Brigitte Macron putting her in the Élysée Palace represented something to them, something disturbing to them. Because this isn't your average story. It's not like, oh, well, why can't someone just be transgendered? No, it's why, the bigger question is, why are all of the elites worldwide, all of the publications, the people with power colluding to gaslight the public about Brigitte? Why did they want to put her as the First Lady of France? What did that move represent to them symbolically, spiritually? These are the sorts of questions that you're going to start asking as we begin to unpack this series. And you're going to start to realize that the symbolism matters. The icons that these people use matters, right? It's going to take us back to Egypt. It's going to take us back to King Solomon. Midas, the things that I have been looking up and really asking myself questions about. And so I'm telling you guys, your minds are going to be completely blown as we jump into Epstein, as we connect the dots with Aleister Crowley and Brigitte, and we start refreshing your mind. If you are a person that is not active at church and you maybe haven't cracked open a Bible in a while, you're going to get interested, very interested in theology, Greek mythology, Egyptian, all of it. Anyways, the Jeffrey Epstein story, I can tell you on its face, is a threat to this establishment. It is the crux of a lot of things that are happening today in the modern world. And they really, really, really desperately need us to stop speaking about that because it would represent an undoing. And that's exactly why we're not going to stop speaking about the Epstein case, because I think that we should be the authors of that undoing. And I will leave it at that before I tell you something else that's quite interesting pertaining to Trump. As we are today, or maybe 2 days ago rather, it was the anniversary of Trump assassination attempt against Donald Trump. The world watched this. Curiously, CNN cameras were there. They didn't normally follow him, but they wanted to make sure everybody saw this thing that was happening on stage. Why is that? Where are we at in that investigation? Let's talk about that. But first, and maybe appropriately, I'm going to speak about Goldco. Over the past 4 years, we've all seen some tough times. We've had skyrocketing inflation, surging national debt, market volatility, never-ending wars, bank failures, and our financial systems can't be trusted. That's why Americans are turning to gold. Gold is real, it's tangible, and it's held value for thousands of years. Unlike the stock market or currency, gold doesn't vanish when politicians make bad decisions, which, let's be honest, is happening a lot these days. Goldco are the experts that I trust to help you protect your retirement with precious metals. Whether you're worried about inflation, government spending, or just want peace of mind, Goldco can make that easy. Here's what you have to do. It's very easy. Go to CandaceLikesGold.com to get your free 2025 gold and silver kit, and then you'll learn about how you can get up to 10% in free silver. So don't wait for the next crisis. Protect your future today by going to CandaceLikesGold.com. Again, CandaceLikesGold.com. Also, you're going to like the name of this beef jerky. It's called For the Boys Beef Jerky. Yeah, I'm the one selling it to you. For the Boys Beef Jerky. You know, I don't waste time on terrible products. Neither does the Boys Beef Jerky. This is the real premium jerky made from slow smoked briskets. It's not mystery meat. There's no fillers, no fake ingredients, just bold, high protein beef that actually tastes like the meat should. Now, For the Boys is a small batch. For the Boys is a very small batch of a family run brand. Their carne asada flavor is my absolute favorite. It's packed with bold, zesty flavor that hits every time. So whether I'm on the go at the studio or need a clean protein packed snack that keeps up with my day, they've got wild flavors that I can choose from, like atomic, garlic pepper, and orange teriyaki too, but carne asada is definitely the favorite for me and my team. And right now, if you head to fortheboysbeefjerky.com, you'll get free shipping and a free gift with your order, but only for a limited time. Visit fortheboysbeefjerky.com. No nonsense, no shortcuts, just beef done right. Again, that's fortheboysbeefjerky.com. I think it's for the girls too, but what do I know? All right, you guys. So this is interesting. We are at the 1 year anniversary of what should have been, if it weren't for, it seemed like a divine intervention, the assassination of Donald Trump. And there were a lot of questions that we had. The conspiracy theorists, very strange that there was such a higher media presence that day. But you go back and they say, oh, well, it's because they thought that he was going to announce who he would be running with for VP. So that's why everyone was front and center and ready to capture this moment. But more curious than what happened on that day is the fact that we still have no answers, okay? President Trump was almost assassinated on a stage, and we know at that time virtually nothing about the family that raised him. Wouldn't you think that we would be learning obsessively every element of this story? Instead, it kind of feels like it was instantly memory hold. And again, there were a lot of interesting questions. And so Laura Trump, who's married to Eric Trump, Donald's son, she sat down with Benny Johnson and he started asking some of these questions to her about Matthew Thomas Crooks. And here is what Laura Trump had to say about Trump's perspective on why he's sort of let that story go. Take a listen.
We know absolutely nothing. We've never seen any of listen, every person has cell phone records. Every person has email records. We've seen nothing. Have you, given the fact that you are a direct member of the family, has anyone briefed you on like who Matthew Thomas Crooks was, what his motivations were, who he was communicating with that day, because we see photos taken by Secret Service of him on the phone. He's calling someone, Laura. Do we know who he called?
I do not have any of that information. And I think it's interesting,
here's the photo, by the way.
Knowing my father-in-law for as long as I have, 17 years now or so, the way he operates, as far as I understand him, is that whenever there's a situation like this, that is very challenging to go through, that's obviously traumatic, I think he kind of boxes it up and puts it away, and he doesn't want to think about it. And you've kind of seen him, Benny, in a lot of these interviews where people are asking him specifically about, July 13th from last year. He says, I try not to think about it. He said in the interview with me that, you are putting your life at risk if you're a bull rider. 1/10 of 1% of bull riders are killed. 1% of 1% of race car drivers are killed. 5% of presidents are killed. And so he knows the risks, and he knows that this was a life-altering moment, a moment where things could have taken a turn for the worse. But I think he kind of boxes it up and puts it away. And that's how he's able to focus on taking this country back and making sure that we're going in the right direction and fixing all the wrongs that happened over the past 4 years, et cetera. He can't focus on this. And so he told me he was satisfied with the information that he received. But in a lot of ways, I almost think he doesn't even want to talk about it. Maybe he doesn't want to know more about it because it's a way that he personally processes things and deals with things. So no, none of us in the family have been briefed on it. I don't know. I don't have any more information on, obviously, the individual who tried to assassinate him. There is one person who is still alive who was attempting to kill him. And I think we're going to see that man in court in September, I believe, down in Florida. So maybe we can get some info from that guy. Unfortunately, Crooks, we're not going to get a whole lot out of him.
So I have a lot of follow-up questions, if I may. So first and foremost, I do want to say this. I like Laura Trump. She's actually really lovely. She's very hardworking, and she is a very good person. I do not accept the words and the sentences that are coming out of her mouth, and I'm going to tell you why. If somebody tried to kill your father, somebody tried to kill your loved one, somebody tried to kill your husband, you would stop at virtually nothing to figure out everything that you could about that individual. Now, she's saying Trump is shutting that down. That's certainly believable. I'm not here suggesting that Trump should be like, let's just marinate in that and keep talking about it and talk about the trauma of having survived that. But there is a broader consideration here, which is he's president of the United States and somebody tried to stop that from happening. So his emotional scars are not really my business. But the practical scars on the nation, like the practicality of the discussions that we should be having about our security as a nation, that somebody got through and tried to murder him on live TV, that's bigger than him. That's bigger than any one president. It's just like saying, why is it still relevant who killed JFK? It's forever relevant who shot and killed JFK, and it is therefore just as relevant that someone attempted to kill Trump, and we don't have any answers. I mean, Benny asks a very important question there. We know he was on the phone leading up to the moment. Why do you think the public has not been informed who exactly Matt was on the phone with? I mean, Matthew Crooks was on the phone with. Would that not be relevant information, a piece of the puzzle as he climbed and just was able to climb onto a roof and shoot at President Trump, who was the last person he was speaking to? If it was not irrelevant, if he just called his mom, they would have told us that. But they're withholding that information and instead telling us to just move along. What are the implications? I'll tell you who has the wrong read on the implications. Laura Loomer said, well, it's obviously Iran. The state said that it was Iran. Let me tell you something right now. If it was Iran, they would have publicized those phone calls and publicized that fact when they made the decision to go bomb Fordow and give B-6 bombers to support Israel with that initiative, because that's what it was about, protecting Israel. They would have publicized that. Bibi Netanyahu would have said it. Just so you know, we know for a fact that Matthew Crooks was working with Iran. And he would look ridiculous if he said that. He would look like he was lying, but he lies so often. He often does look ridiculous. So why not add that to the pile? They did not do that. So this is not the Middle East. This is not Iran. Who was he on the phone with? Trump's hesitation to discuss that is not unlike Trump's hesitation to discuss Jeffrey Epstein. And if you actually look back, it seems like that area, his lack of comfort in discussing that, it could all be related. And I truly asked my team in sincerity, I asked Mark, I said, Mark, but why won't Trump do this? Like, actually give me a reason, because I can't comprehend Trump right now. I want to understand why he would not release the Epstein files, why he would not tell us who Matthew Crooks was on the phone with. What is the answer, the practical answer for that? And Mark actually has something that I think is correct. He said that it is likely that he has come to a place where thinking that the public cannot handle the truth, that we can't handle it, that it would undo everything. Because what would you do? What would you actually do? And I'm leaving this as an open-ended question. If Trump got on stage and was like, actually, the entire world is a stage, nothing is real, your freedoms aren't real, you've been enslaved by lies, there's a global government that's running everything, we control the media, we control the textbooks, and you're essentially just a patient in a very long-running MK Ultra experiment. Oh, and also the elites worship Satan. And yeah, they've been in control of human trafficking. What would you do? Like, literally, what would you do the next minute if he got on air and said all of that? If any president got on air and said all of that? It's a question. I'm going to leave it at that. It is a question. And it's happening naturally, whether he says it or not. We recognize something has gone awry in every regards. We realize that these people are not making us healthier, whether it's with vaccines. It's for your health. The government wants to help. No, the government does not want to help. No, Bill Gates is not a good guy. No, if you are signed up to A Shot in the Dark, my series on the history of vaccines, it's terrifying. When we get into birth control, we start talking about Bill Gates and his initiative in Africa. I know a lot of people from Africa watch this show. My goodness, what they were trying to tell the public. Hey, yeah, it's making people infertile. That's like a thing. That they were experimenting on people that were in insane asylums, women that were in insane asylums, because they were maybe awake to some of the evil that was happening at that time. I mean, it is dark. It is really dark what's been going on. And only the truth, truly, not to sound cheesy, but it is really only the truth that is going to free us from what's happening, which is why I love this next story. Michelle Pfeiffer, just out of nowhere, from the top ropes, just came and slammed Bill Gates. It's amazing. And she made us aware of something that I wasn't aware of. So she launches this attack on him and says that he is going to contaminate America's food supply. So I had not heard about this at all. She took to Instagram on Thursday to essentially express to people that she was concerned because the FDA had just approved a peel. Now, I'll tell you what a peel is. And I'm just showing you her Instagram post. It says a peel, an edible plant-based coating that is designed to essentially prolong the shelf life of fresh fruits and vegetables. It was just approved. And now, even if you go and you buy organic produce, it's fine if it has a coating of a peel on it. Do you trust Bill Gates? And so Bill Gates, by the way, they came out and said, we have nothing to do with the peel. Yeah, they do. They were the founding money behind the company. They initially, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gave a $100,000 grant in 2012 to the entrepreneur James Rogers to build up this product. What is a quote unquote Microsoft exec, Bill Gates, doing? Concerned about vaccines. Okay, he is obsessed with getting chemicals into our bodies. Okay, that is the reality of who Bill Gates is. And it seems like he will stop at nothing. Okay, Bill Gates gives me the creeps. Can't wait to get to him and speak about him and Epstein when we go through our series. People that have traditionally never wanted to help you and are willing to lie and have the power to have the media lie on their behalf, and essentially, it's what they're doing to Michelle Pfeiffer right now. They're trying to gaslight her. Like, he had nothing to do with that. Yeah, Bill Gates was that founding capital for them. Venture capitalist Andreessen Horowitz is also behind it. And you should absolutely be concerned about what is in our water and what is in our food, because you're not a conspiracy theorist to recognize that they've been poisoning us. They've just been poisoning us. What is Monsanto? Why are some things in America that is allowed, the products and the chemicals that are allowed to be put in our food, banned when you go to Europe? What is America? America is a colony where we are just being experimented on in all types of ways, psychologically, physically, because there are sick and evil people in the world. And I believe, like I said, you can add this to the list of conspiracy theories I speak about on the show, that these people would like to thin the herd. They don't want us having children. They're behind the feminist movement, the origins of the feminist movement. It is the same people. They're in our food, they are in our medicine, and the world, America specifically, is not healthier today than it was before Big Pharma began taking over everything and demanding access to our children, demanding states of emergency so they can have access to our bodies. Fortunately, I think more and more people are waking up to that, and you should be. But be aware of appeal and be aware that what Michelle Pfeiffer just did was incredibly heroic. All right, guys, I have to tell you this in case you missed it because it's very funny, because everyone's anti-Semitic, and so is everything. Last week, there were two scandals. First and foremost, Grok, the AI robot thing, or thingamajigger. I would describe Grok, I think, accurately as a thingamajigger. He basically had to get taken offline because people started asking him questions, and he got super anti-Semitic, basically started spreading the worst conspiracy theories about Israel and saying that Jews control the world. It was crazy. Then, as if that wasn't enough, Elmo, your friend Elmo, apparently he spent way too much time with Miss Rachel, who has also been deemed anti-Semitic for not hating Palestinian children. He went crazy on Twitter. They're saying he was hacked. This is the headline in CBS. Elmo's X account hacked, shares anti-Semitic posts with disgusting messages. And yeah, he really took it to Trump and basically said that Trump was being controlled by Bibi Netanyahu, said terribly anti-Semitic things. But I'm going to go ahead and cut to Vinny, who is a comedian who works over on the... What is their podcast called? The Valuetainment podcast, but what is the actual podcast called? Oh yeah, it's just PBD podcast, right? I want to make sure there wasn't like a name for it. Yeah, the Valuetainment PBD podcast, Patrick Bet-David's podcast. And here is what Vinny had to say.
Elmo, it's no secret why you're here, okay? Last night on X, you went on a rant targeting Jews, President Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein.
Elmo was hacked.
So you say so. Okay, but Cookie Monster was in here earlier, and he said he was with you when you were posting that stuff on X. Oh, and by the way, the IP address, it's yours.
That means nothing. You can't trust that junkie.
Listen, but I have to ask, and with all due respect, look at me. Were you drinking last night?
Elmo had a glass of Chardonnay.
A glass?
Okay, fine. It was a bottle. But that's a normal Sunday night for Elmo.
And let me guess. You were watching Nick Fuentes and Dan Bilzerian content, right?
Yeah,
But nothing, all right? You tweeted, Donald Trump is Netanyahu's puppet because he's in the Epstein files and Jews control the world.
Look, Elmo knows puppets. And Bibi has his hand so far up Trump's ass.
Whoa, Elmo!
No, you're singling Elmo out. Snuffleupagus has been doing cocaine for 20 years. And Big Bird says the N-word on a consistent basis, and you do nothing.
Calm down,
No.
Elmo. All right, stop.
Look, if noticing patterns and connecting the dots makes me anti-Semitic, then ooh-wee, guilty as charged.
Elmo, stop. All right, enough already. And I hate that I have to do this, but this morning, I got a package, okay? And in the package was a video with a note attached. And the video is of someone that looks exactly like you messing around with some underage puppets. Oh, and guess what? The note said, tell Elmo to back off immediately. We also want him to go on an apology tour in Jerusalem, maybe even kiss the wall.
I'll be damned to hell if I'm going to Jerusalem.
All right, look at that. Look at that. Who's that?
Elmo's 3.5.
Who's that?
It's not me.
Elmo.
That could be anybody.
Elmo.
That could be anyone.
Elmo. That's you.
Oy vey.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you'll be seeing Elmo when he gets back from Jerusalem. Mazel tov! I love Jews. Jews love me. Please don't leak that vid of me.
I hate how accurate that is, that everyone who gets involved in a the anti-Semitism scandal is like, you can have your life back if you go fly to Jerusalem and put your hand on this wall and put on a yarmulke, or if you fly to Poland and visit the Auschwitz Museum and allow our photogs to capture you. It's very weird. It is very weird. It's just a weird thing. It's so weird. There's no other adjective I can come up with right now beyond like, I would just never do that. It's why you take a picture with me, like you're sending, I don't know, information to somebody else in the gang. Like, I got this one under control. There's something about it I don't like. I just feel like it's, I don't know, it feels like the work of gangs to be like, got this one, the threat's been neutralized. Photo of this person here. Don't like it. Anyways, I'm going to get into some of your comments here. First, I'm going to remind you about PDS debt. Not to be confused with PBD podcast, which I, for some reason, was blanking on it. I was thinking it was called the home team, but that's just kind of what he calls the home team when he does the podcast. But anyways, PDS debt, the system is not broken, it is rigged. And if you are buried in debt currently, that's exactly how they want it to be, because you know that big banks are profiting when you're desperate. Creditors win when we lose, and you do not have to play their game. PDS debt can help you take back control. They've helped hundreds of thousands of people break free from credit cards, loans, and high interest traps. It is your money. It is your future. It is time to fight for both. PDS debt goes beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. There is no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, which is in your pocket. PDS debt is rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. It boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free, so get your assessment and find out the best options for you right now by visiting pdsdebt.com/Candace. Again, that's pdsdebt.com/Candace, pdsdebt.com/Candace. Also reminding you that if you are a homeowner, you have to listen to this, because when was the last time you actually checked on your home title? The problem is that in today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals can forge your signature on just one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and then that's it. Your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity or even selling your property. You won't even know it's happened until you get a collection or a foreclosure notice. So I'll ask again, when's the last time that you've checked on your home title? Because if your answer is never, then you should probably do something about that right now. I've partnered with Home Title Lock so that you can find out today if you are already a victim. Just use my promo code Candace at HomeTitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. This protection will ensure 24/7 monitoring of your title. It'll send urgent alerts to any changes. And if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. So go ahead and head to HomeTitleLock.com and use code Candace. Again, that's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Candace. All right, guys, what is on your mind today? Let's check it out. First comment that we have is from Evan. Evan writes, please look into the Black Cube, the private Israeli intelligence company. Ex-Mossad agents who are tied to Epstein and his Epstein victims compensation program to silence the girls. The Black Cube is also a satanic cult. That is so funny that you brought that up, because we were discussing the Black Cube. Me and the team were just discussing that about an hour ago, because as I'm reading through Xavier's documents on Epstein, the Black Cube came up because, and we were talking about it because essentially Ehud Barak, who is the former prime minister of Israel, who frequented Jeffrey Epstein's abode in New York, he convinced Harvey Weinstein to use the Black Cube. And so I was saying to my team, why on earth would a prime minister be telling Harvey Weinstein who to use for security, unless they wanted operations, or they wanted to follow Harvey Weinstein? Who knows what that is about? But that literally came up, and it will come up in this Epstein series. Richard writes, Candace, will you invite Dr. Taylor Marshall to talk about the social reign of Christ the King? Yes, actually, we were just talking about collaborating last week. So I just got to get a date on the calendar. We got a lot going on with me trying to get this series going. Also, obviously, still my young, Roman is only 11 weeks old. So, but we are definitely going to find a time for that, because it's a really important conversation. She's du Hose, I think that's how you say your name. Please forward this to Xavier Poussard's legal defense. He deserves more fans than Hollywood combined. Much love from Germany to you both. Love the book. Keep up the good work. Thank you for the support. Cosmic Curtain writes, Nick Adams, pro-Israel troll, has been nominated as the ambassador of Malaysia, a pro-Palestine, very peaceful nation of Muslims. He was nominated the same day that the former prime minister said some anti-Israeli things. Look into this, please. Skylar's putting a note here that they have the article here, the independent article, that says Malaysians urge government to reject Zionist Nick Adams as the U.S. envoy. So apparently something's going on there. And yes, this whole cabinet is filled with Zionists, even some Zionists that Trump, just pardoned. like Charles Kushner, who is the ambassador of all places to France. France seems to be a very important place. A very important place. Lastly, Brooke writes, Trump's assassin was in a BlackRock commercial. Please watch. They are all puppets. I wonder if the kid was in the MK Ultra program. Yeah. I think both of his parents were behavioral therapists. He comes from a line of people that are in the military. You put therapy together with the military, and I instantly go to MK Ultra as well, obviously. The MK Ultra program, which I believe is still going on, obviously, because they need to blame certain people for events. We've talked about RFK assassination. Yeah, I'm going to go with you are probably correct about that, but it does seem strange that Trump is willing to move on from it. Anyways, you guys, the Michael Jones interview, I had not realized that we had put that behind the paywall, and I'm now putting it in front of the paywall. So if you go to CandaceOwens.com, you can listen to that conversation that we had about pornography. It's a very good conversation. You can see he writes pornography is the extinction of thought, and it is his belief, as it is mine, that it is a weapon that was intentionally launched as a means to enslave mankind. You're not going to believe this, but the story of the modern pornography story begins with France. Yeah, his book that he has talks about France. It talks about the Marquis de Sade, yeah, it's very, very interesting conversation that we have. Definitively controversial, but controversy, I think, is just kind of what we do here. So that's totally fine. Anyways, you guys, I think that is everything. You can head to CandaceOwens.com, support us. You can buy merch. You can sign up for a Shot in the Dark series. You can generally just say, I'm going to subscribe to Candace Owens for a year because I agree and appreciate the work that she is doing and the research that's going into it. If you can't right now, I totally understand. I will be here no matter what tomorrow.